Hello, my name is Katie, and welcome to the Upbeat interview, where we explore people's passions, their creative process, and see what inspires them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Our guest today is Erich Andreas, known as YourGuitarSage. This Nashville-based teacher's YouTube channel has almost 700,000 subscribers with close to 100 million views, and for good reason. His style of teaching goes beyond instructing how to play notes on a fingerboard. There are lessons on how to learn, how to be kind to oneself while learning, and he offers up inspiration on how to be our best selves. As one of his students in his Unstoppable Guitar System, I found his teaching to be life-changing. Welcome,
Good.
Erich Andreas.
Oh, so good to see you.
So happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Katie.
As one of your students, you've asked me, what's my why for playing? So what's
Yeah.
your why for teaching?
You know, I feel like I've always had a heart to help with animals, with kids, with just people. Just like I've always had that heart ever since I was a little kid. And I think I just kind of naturally fell into it because of that. I kind of leaned into that because I loved playing guitar, and then I would have friends come to me and they wanted to learn. So it was just like a really easy transition. I'm like, well, here, just do this. And like throughout high school and what have you, I would literally just just teach people because I thought it was fun, and I got them to the kind of a next level of whatever. And then one day I was like, well, I probably could do that more if I was getting paid for it. What a novel idea. And so then, of course, I started teaching one-on-one. And, uh, and then after teaching one-on-one, I started going online and teaching lessons, right, with YouTube and that sort of thing around 2006, I think it was. And that just became such a thing that I could reach so many people at once that I started doing away with my one-on-one students. Not that I wanted to, but I just didn't have the time. So that's kind of how I came into that. So you get endorphins anytime you are doing something that excites you, that makes you happy, whether it's eating a piece of chocolate cake or kissing your loved ones or winning something. And so for me, if I can get an idea from my head into someone else's head, and then they can go, oh, and they have that aha moment, it's like I get to relive that again. So I love that, just that constant feedback loop of helping and then going, oh, cool, that's great, awesome, they're further along. And then it's a great little reward system, I guess.
Is there anyone who inspired your teaching, or is it something you developed on your own?
Well, that's an interesting question. The teachers that I had growing up were small town teachers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think they had this a little bit of a small town mentality, in that, when you don't have that bigger breadth of people to work with, it tends to be a slightly narrow focus. And so the guys that I would learn from, I don't think they wanted to be teaching, and it just so happened to be like some teachers, right? It's like they tend to do that if they're not doing what it is that they wanted to do. And in the guitar teaching community, I think you find that a lot. Now, Nashville, a lot of the guys that are teaching here in Nashville that are teaching online and that sort of thing, it's not so much that, because they've been on the road, they've been in the studio, and they're like, gosh, I kind of want like a more frequent thing that's in my control, that I don't have to go out on the road and what have you. But a lot of times, I think for other teachers, it's not quite like that. So I didn't get so much a spark from them, from my teachers. I wish that I had, but teachers like Tony Robbins, and you've heard me mention him a lot. I get a lot of inspiration from guys like that, guys and gals like that are moving people, so many people at once and in such big ways, because it's like that's what the world needs more of, is that powerful person who can bring you through this and empower some other people, other beings, to go, oh wow, I can do this too. And then it spreads like wildfire. So Tony Robbins, I'd say, is my number one. Helped to change my ways of thinking in so many ways.
Now, I read an interview in prep for your interview with Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Oh, good.
He talked about hitting on an emotional level. And that's what I've noticed with your teaching. It's so heartfelt.
I mentioned this at a live broadcast today. Someone said, I want to play as emotionally as David Gilmour. And I said, well, great. I feel like sometimes people think that that's a unique thought. They say, well, I want to be the most fit person in the world, or I want to be whatever it is that they want to be. And the thought itself is not an original thought. It's great. I think we all should be striving for such things. But the thought also is not necessarily the thing that's going to drive us, because everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants to have enough money. Everybody wants great relationships or be a great whatever it is that they want to be. But there's a reason why they're not. And the reason why they're not is that their why is not big enough. And so, you'll hear me talk about Tony a lot, but he's not the creator of these ideas. It's just that he's really good at them and he's good at teaching them. But one thing that technique of getting people to ask their why and getting them emotionally involved, what it does, and Tony's so great at it, is that it literally gets you to understand what it would be like if you don't get those things, and to feel all of that terrible pain. What would it be like to not have that great relationship with your kids? Feel that pain, because that's where you're headed if you don't take care of these things. Or, well, if you really want to be this great player, imagine what it would be like not having that, and having known, when you get older, that it could have been yours, and to let yourself go to feel that pain, because the pain is inevitable. You're going to feel it. Why not feel it where you can invent it ahead of time, so that it will drive you to not have that lifestyle, right? We know that people go through this all the time, whether it's drug addiction or whatever. And when they come out of that, it required them losing somebody close to them, maybe getting divorced, maybe going bankrupt, and then they have the aha moment, because they feel the pain. And oftentimes the pain is as much of a driver as the pleasure. So I like to do that with students. Obviously, when we're talking about guitar, it's a little harder to get them to that point, because they might feel a little goofy about it, and you're not going to get them weeping about not becoming the best guitar player that they can be. But you can do that if somebody's addicted to drugs, or they're not giving their family the energy that they should, or their business the energy that they should, so that they can get out of the place that they want to get out of. But I wholeheartedly stand behind that mentality, because it's like, it's inevitable. It's gonna, let's feel that pain ahead of time, and then go, now I know why it is that I'm doing this. I don't ever have to question why it is that I'm coming in to do what I'm doing every morning. I know why. It's not like ho hum. I know exactly why I'm doing it. And so it keeps me driven,
I heard this quote from an artist who does very detailed work, and they said, you must be very patient. And she said, no, it's not patience, it's devotion. And I thought of that with your students. It's not you're very patient, but it doesn't come from a thing of, I've got to be patient with them. It's more like,
right,
I want you guys to succeed.
yes.
I want, I'm devoted to you, and I feel like you really walk the walk.
So if you think about it too, the devotion requires effort, whereas patience, you can just wait for the genie to bring whatever it is that you're looking for. I've been patient. I've been waiting for years, and I haven't found the person I'm looking for. Well, have you done anything about it? Or have you? I'm mentally in the same place I was 10 years ago. I've been so patient. It's like, well, yeah, but if you were devoted to it, you would be seeking the answers, right? Yeah, I love that. That's great.
You've used the thing as far as how much should I practice? How much do you want to spend time with your loved one? Like,
yeah. How good do you want to be? Well,
yeah,
everybody's going to answer, well, I want to be amazing at that. Okay. Well, do you think a mediocre amount of, practice will get you there? Or do you think a dedicated, how much can I practice kind of attitude is going to get you there?
From a difficult point in your life to where you are now, a flourishing and thriving teacher and person, what has been your path?
I was married early on to a different gal than I'm married to now. Went through a vicious divorce with custody battle and a lot of terrible, everything that you could imagine that would go with, like, the worst divorce possible, and the reasons why the divorce happened. Like, imagine all the worst stuff. That's what happened. bankruptcy, lost my home, everything because of mounting lawyer fees to pay for, child custody and all the rest. And then finding myself in a place where I was nothing wrong with being a banker, but I was a banker, and then went into sales, and now I'm this salesperson, and I'm looking around going, well, this is not all this. This isn't how I thought life was going to turn out. And then I realized that I kind of had let go of the wheel to some degree. I mean, even through that divorce and everything, is that I wasn't emotionally strong enough to be like, things are going to be okay. So it kind of jacked me a little bit, a lot of it. And so over the years of reinventing myself and having the opportunity to reinvent myself, I realized that I needed to have mentorship, and that I needed to have knowledge, and that I needed to apply that knowledge and be devoted to applying that knowledge daily and moment by moment, and having the right thoughts in. Because if you just let go of the wheel on a ship, it's going to just veer over to one side, and you're going to be like, well, now how did I get here? Well, because you let go of the wheel. So I mean, it's all about hands on the wheel and constantly checking. And I mean, you can live a beautiful soft lifestyle that way, but you're just going, is this what I want? No. Okay, let's come over here a little bit. And I feel like for me, I just learned a lot of those techniques, and I'm constantly learning those techniques and those principles to base my life on. And just of, December of 2017, I was, as we all do, we go through so many different cycles in our lives, and chapters and what have you. And I had just gone through this major change of, I changed my eating lifestyle. I started eating plant-based because I was, like most folks, I was eating whatever. I knew about the health implications of that, but in this case, I was watching a documentary, and that one of my students suggested, because they had heard me say at the end of my lessons all the time on YouTube, something about be kind to all beings. And so this gentleman turned me on to this movie. It was a documentary. It was about animal welfare. All that being said, it brought me to a place of wanting to go plant-based because of what I had seen in that documentary. And I knew it was going on, but I kind of turned away from it. And this documentary just like shut me down and made me go, I mean, I was literally devastated from it for quite some time afterwards. So much so that I didn't have the capability of handling what I knew was going on. And I had to come to yet another place of, okay, that is going on. What can I do about it? Well, personally, I can do this. And that's what I did. I changed my lifestyle as far as what I ate, but I still was succumb with grief over what was not just happening to animals, but to other beings, to children, what have you. And that my mind just searched and realized what could be going on, what is going on in the world right now. And then thank God for Tony Robbins again. I was at his Date with Destiny seminar, which is an intense, like 8-day dig in the dirt. We're going to uncover everything type of thing, 16 hours a day. And it was very intense. And during that time, I realized that, I'll try not to get emotional here, but I realized that my life was that I'm to be happy and fulfilled, and that every being in this world has that, not only that right, but that's what they were built for, was for happiness and fulfillment. And it wasn't this other side of the coin of like, well, how can I help this terribly hurting world? And now it was, how can I make the world a more peaceful, beautiful place to live? And how can I become a life giver? How can I become fulfilled and happy? Because I found out that if you're not happy and fulfilled, you cannot make anybody else happy and fulfilled. So the number one thing that we have to do is to become happy and fulfilled. And we do that through changing our attitude, changing our habits, changing the people we hang out with, changing our philosophies, everything else. And I saw my life just blossom since that time, and it's never stopped. I literally have not had a depressed day since then. And before that, there were many days. I mean, I would be in turmoil, laying awake at night, not really I mean, I had a beautiful wife and a beautiful child and a thriving business, but I still was tormented in my mind about the state of the world. And so I realized that I could be happy and I could be fulfilled even though the rest of the world was not. It wasn't my business to bring myself down to that depressed level. I can't help anybody in that state. So I learned that I had to find the happiness first. And once I did that, now I can overflow. My cup runneth over, and now I can give to others. And that has worked like a charm since December of 2019. Have not even, I mean, I can think that way, but I can catch myself and go, oh, you're doing it, and that's not going to benefit the world. Kick back over here where you are happy and fulfilled, and you can give to others. You go to the gym for a good, 6 months, and you start looking great, and then you go, awesome, I suppose I can just quit because this is exactly what I wanted. And then you go, oh, hold on, it's going away again. And that's the way with practice or anything else. It's day by day, right? It's with anything. It's that we live in this 3D world. So it's like, just because we arrive maybe to a concept, we still have to bolster that concept, and we still have to practice those things in order for us to keep going. So yeah, it is a daily practice for me, for sure.
It's not a one-time conversion and then
No.
everything.
I think that conversion can happen where for sure you are brought to this new place, because I most assuredly did that day, that week that I was at the seminar, and I've had so many experiences. I mean, hundreds of experiences where you go, oh my gosh, and the light goes on. Whether it was watching that documentary, or realizing that I can live without somebody who actually wasn't very kind to me. Oh, wow. That took going through all of that emotional pain and then going, wait a minute, they were never very kind to me. This is, dating other people and finding out that this is what kindness looks like. So, trusting that process and just hanging on and applying yourself every day and going after it as if your life depends on it, he says sarcastically, because your life does depend on it. Not just your physical life, your being, but it does, but also like life and what you feel and your emotions and what you can share with others. It's so important to constantly be going after that with that passion of, I'm the only person who can do this,
What would you say to someone who's struggling to find that purpose and that light?
The number one thing that I could say is just absolutely take inventory of everything that's coming into your life, the things that you're listening to, the podcasts that you're listening to, the TV that you're listening to or not listening to. In my case, I hardly watch any TV. Social media is something I recently just said. I mean, other than for the business thing, I don't look at feeds anymore. It's been ruined for me, but it was probably a good thing. So I actually embrace it, and I'm like, good. I kind of wanted to finally get rid of it anyhow. So for me, social media is not uplifting whatsoever. It's very triggering. So I don't get on it anymore. So that's the number one thing I would say for someone is be observant of what is coming into your mind through your eyes, through your ears, and say, is this beneficial? Because if it's not, it's time to get rid of stuff. And what happens naturally is when you get rid of stuff, there's this hole there that you will replace it with something like sculpting or playing guitar or a podcast that does lift you up, or meditating, working out, eating right, studying, whatever it is. If you get that junk out of your life, all the other stuff happens. And there's an infinite number of things that we will learn. So I'm saying get hooked up into some sources online. You can find people all day long, beautiful sources of people that are, and one thing leads to another. Tony will lead to Jim Rohn. He'll lead to Deepak Chopra, and this guy will lead to Wayne Dyer. And it's just cascades of all the amazing gurus that are out there. And it doesn't mean you have to agree on all of it, but you're in the tribe of people that that believe they know the truth, and they're moving forward, and you can move forward with them in that energy, right? So that's the number one thing I would say to do, because once you're plugged into the sources, you're going to get all the information you need. Now you just have to apply it. Even if you're not inspired, even if you're not today currently inspired, you're like, whatever, I'll do it. There's an expression that says the word won't come back void, and I think that means the truth. It's a biblical scripture. The word will not come back void. A lot of people refer to that as being the Bible won't come back void. I don't think that's what that's referring to. I think it's referring to truth. You cannot speak truth or physically do truth, be kind to somebody else, and it not affect the world. Someone cannot hear the truth and it not come back. It's a seed that's dropped. I think something that's not truth can fall away and die, but the seed is planted. And so get as many of those great seeds into your mind as would be my number one thing I would tell people to do.
What are the things in your life you're proudest of?
I would say my children. So I have a 23-year-old daughter, and I have a 4-year-old who's getting ready to be 5. You've met little E online, right? And my wife. I am so proud of my family. I have so much love for them. The business is great, but it's like, even like through this whole lockdown thing, so many people have lost their businesses and what have you. And I literally ran through that whole scenario through my mind, like, what would that be like? And I thought, I would say that was a great run. And I'd figure something else, like what's next type of thing. I probably wouldn't be too distraught about it, because I found out that doesn't really help anything. So for me, I'm proud of where I've come from. I'm proud of those things that are as eternal as we believe them to be, relationships, and the fact that I've changed so much of who I am. That's a hard thing to do, is to change who you are, because we're looking through our own filters, our own lenses, our own paradigms all the time. How do you see what you're doing is wrong? It's my biggest quest in my life, is to figure out the things that I'm doing wrong, and to correct those, and probably the hardest thing to do. So that might be the number one thing, and then probably my family and everything else, because again, if I can't do it myself, someone can have the most beautiful family in the world, and if they don't know that, if they don't have that inner strength within, and that understanding and that gratitude, then they could take that for granted. So that's still paramount for me. I know it sounds selfish, and I know it's not, because you seem very enlightened, and you understand that. But for folks that are just coming to it, they sometimes think, well, no, I need to put this person before me. And it's like, no, it's not that way. You have to put yourself first. It doesn't mean being selfish. It just means taking the time to refuel the battery, to get the information that you need, so that you can put it into action, so that you can help people. If you're always the last person, then you're never going to be able to take care of yourself, and eventually your batteries are going to go out. Then you're not going to be good to anybody.
When you interview people, you ask for 3 takeaways.
Yes.
So what are your 3 takeaways for living one's best life?
Okay, I would say to always find out what your why is overall in life, and then for individually, for the bits and pieces the widgets, find out what those whys are. And what that means is, why do you want to have a family? Well, because everybody gets married. Terrible why. Why is it that you want to have a great job? Well, I want to support my family, and I want something that I don't have to spend all the time in the world on. Like, make that why very, very detailed. Then I would say, after you know what your why is on those individual things, and that takes a lot of digging in the dirt. That's a lot of energy. Most people don't ever go there. So understand that that's a journey in and of itself. Then I'd say, find the resources, find the mentors, find the books, find the application, find the courses, whatever it is, to get you to those individual widgets. And then I would say, thirdly, like, do all of that with massive passion and massive drive, so that you can feel wonderful when you get to these goals. And then there's going to be more goals that present themselves, inevitably.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Yes, I tell you what, I use it all the time. I'd say, because it's so empowering, it's that and I'm probably paraphrasing here, it's not even probably spot on, but Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're correct. It's 100% true. If you don't believe you can do something, the chances of you doing it are probably nil, because how can you create something that you can't even envision? And the converse is true too. The Wright brothers believed that they could fly a plane, then they did that. Edison or Tesla, whoever you believe actually invented the light bulb, had a vision, right? So without that vision, how could that light bulb have actually been invented, or any other thing, Amazon or Apple? It takes a vision. It takes a mad scientist to say, well, this is what I want. But then it takes someone brave who's willing to execute it. Anybody can envision something, right? But it's that execution. Yeah.
What do you want your kids to know about their dad?
Gosh, I'd say the thing that I want kids to know about my kids to know about me is that to be kind, and that anything's possible. I know it's pretty broad, but that'd be it.
And what would you like your students to know about you?
I'd say the same thing. The things I preach all the time is that anything's possible. Be kind and go after your dreams. Do the bits and pieces that are going to get you there to go after your dreams, because it's all possible, and you're the only person who can steer that wheel.
I wanted to ask what you would tell the 20-year-old Erich.
Oh my God. The 20-year-old, I think I would have said all the stuff that I'm doing now. I'd have said, dude, get going with that stuff today, which I kind of did, but I got derailed. For me, which this is probably not applicable to too many people. For me, I was just very green, very naive, and thought that, that maybe getting married would be something that would fulfill me. And I think it can be a widget that would fulfill you, but I like to look at it as a widget. It's like, obviously it's more fulfilling than getting a computer or something, but it's a thing. And if it goes away, it can't be the end of your life. It's an addition to your life, or a subtraction. Or a great job could be the same way. So for me, I think it would have been to understand that there are these widgets in life, and they're available to everybody, and to think of them like that. Okay, well, I want to have a great job. Awesome. How do you go about that? What are the things? Well, follow people that do that. Follow people that have great jobs. Listen to them. I want to have I want to have great health. Well, how do I do that? Well, find somebody who has great health. Listen to them. Do what they do. Success leaves clues. Boom, got that widget. Marriage. I want to have a great marriage. Why? Well, because relationships are fulfilling. Well, find somebody who has a great marriage and model them. So I think the thing that I would tell my 20-year-old self is that there are these things, and they're available to all. Learn about them, study them, bring them in, and do it right now, and do it with all the passion and fervor in the world. Because for me, I feel like I started those things, but I lost track. I didn't have enough of a footing that it would have guided me through some treacherous times. And I see a couple of young kids every now and then where they understand this at such an early age. And I'm like, I'm so envious that you got this at such an early age. I wish, I wish that I had done that to that capacity. I had the seeds there, but they weren't cultivated like they should have been. Now I feel like I'm so much stronger in that. But the 20-year-old self, I'd have said, get going with all this stuff. Follow these folks and do what they do and practice what they practice. You're going to be in good shape,
And what would the 95-year-old Erich say to you now?
Oh my gosh. The 95-year-old Erich, I think, might say, would probably say, if he was being a little bit preachy, which I can be, I think I would probably say, I told you didn't know everything at 50. I told you didn't know everything at 60. I told you didn't know everything at 70. It's a process. So be broken, be open, have an open mind, have an open heart, that you don't know everything and that there's a lot more. So just be observant. That's what the 95-year-old would say to me.
what are you looking forward to?
Life is just a constant. It's just so exciting to me, and it can be as exciting as we want it to be. But it's the sky's the limit, and so I'm just so excited to see where the world's headed. I'm excited to see where my business is headed. I always have a pretty bright outlook, at least these days, on the future. And so I'm just excited to see where we're going to go, where I'm going to go, how I'm going to learn, what life's going to look like, adding all these extra cool bits and pieces that we can decide to do to add every day. Yeah.
What you did during the pandemic lockdown was
Oh,
incredible. It
thank you.
really gave so much structure to a very uneasy time. And, all 600 plus that were there every day, just you
I know.
really gave us such a gift.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means so much to me. It really does.
Had I not watched your videos, I
Yeah.
would not be doing what I'm doing right now.
I love that, Katie. That's beautiful. That's a gift to me.
You said, if you want to do it, go do it.
100%. It's just going and doing it, right? And then you're like, I'm here.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much, Erich Andreas. I'm such a privilege to talk to you.
Thank you. Yay. Love
And
you. So much love. Thank you, Katie.
right back to you.